Oh hello, welcome back to Whatever Wednesdays. This is episode 7 and I'm your host, Mr. Robert Coulter. In today's video, we shall be talking about my top 5 dream dinner guests at a dinner party. Guys, welcome back. This is correct. So today's video is going to be about me telling you my top 5 dream dinner guests to have at a dinner party. So they could be alive or dead, famous or not famous, whatever. Imagine that, guys. Imagine choosing only 5 people. Because I could choose 10, I could choose 20 pretty easily, even more maybe. But trying to narrow it down to just 5, who would they be at your dream dinner party? So firstly, I'll apologise to a lot of friends and family. I'm sorry guys, you just didn't make the list. Also, I'd like to apologise to Harrison Ford. I know you played Indiana Jones and Han Solo, dude, but unfortunately you didn't make the list. Luke Skywalker, sorry, didn't make the list. There's a bunch of people that could have been here but weren't. Now I remember years ago, the actress Goldie Hawn, famous Hollywood actress, she married the Hollywood actor Kurt Russell. Now, Goldie Hawn had a daughter called Kate Hudson, who was a bit of a babe, and she became a famous actress in her own right too. Kate Hudson was also dating a rock singer called Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes. Now I remember thinking to myself, that's quite a family. Like imagine going around their house for like Christmas dinner, how cool would that be? So, in the spirit of that, let's talk about my top 5 dream dinner guests. So, number 1 would be the Thin White Duke, Aladdin Sane, Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie. So I remember as a kid watching Labyrinth for the first time going like, damn, who is this freaky Goblin King guy? And what the hell is this? And then I remember finding out, oh, it's actually a singer called David Bowie who does some acting too. As I got older, I kind of, oh, it's David Bowie guy, and I started researching and listening and realizing he was actually probably freakier and scarier in real life at first. And then realizing that actually, God, what an incredible and inspiring guy David Bowie was. I mean, his music alone is so creative. And I think David Bowie, it's safe to say, was one of the last and true great originals. The way he constantly reinvented himself is a major inspiration in my life, whether I played in a rock band or traveled the world or worked in a corporate company. I've always tried to have a different version of me at different times of my life. So whilst I'm not running around in face paint and looking like Ziggy Stardust, I do think it's very important to kind of refresh yourself and reinvent yourself a lot. So David Bowie would be definitely for sure one of my top 5 guests. I remember watching this documentary once on David Bowie about sometimes how he'd write some of his lyrics, was he would write key words down, just key words, and then he'd cut them all up into little bits of paper, and then he would split the bits of paper up into the table and just kind of mess them all around, and then pick a few key words out, and then use those as inspiration to actually start writing some lyrics. And I just remember the guy was a maverick, I mean the maverick in every sense of the word. The way he even passed away, he had an album perfectly curated, ready to be released. You know, on the day he died, he'd recorded this secret body of music, and the guy was an artist from start to finish, an absolute inspiration and a fantastic guy. Now, guest number 2 for me would be Nelson Mandela. Now, for me, Nelson Mandela, I think there's a huge inspiration for me from Nelson Mandela. The fact he was incarcerated for such a long period of time, and he remained humble and peaceful, and he didn't come out of that after, you know, decades of being locked away. He was not bitter, he was positive, and he still wanted to just do the good he could in the time he had. I think he would be a very interesting dinner guest. I don't know if he'd be very quiet, or if he'd be talking a lot, or if he'd be laughing at David Bowie's jokes, but I think he'd be pretty cool. So number 3, my 3rd guest for my imaginary dinner party, the best dinner party in the world, would be Alex Honnold. Alex Honnold, you guys probably don't know him. He is a very, very incredible and humble athlete. So he's a freestyle climber. He does a lot of work for Nat Geo, and he's also a sponsored North Face athlete. He's a freestyle climber. So what that means is he climbs up these and scales these immense rock faces, mountains, everything he could dream of, volcanoes, whatever he can get his hands on, without any safety harnesses or anything. He literally just climbs with his hands and a chalk bag. And he has this perfect kind of like almost Buddhist-like calm to him that he knows that one wrong move and he could literally be dead and falling down that mountain. He has this zen and this calm, and he just does this thing beautifully. It's like a work of art how he climbs. And breathtaking to watch. I get sweaty palms just watching him, because I'm like, but he's very inspiring. Additionally to that, he lives in a van, right? So he's sponsored by North Face. He makes enough money from sponsorships and things, right? So he could probably live quite comfortably. He rejects the idea of having a house, because his idea is like, well, if I have a house, how do I get to the parks? How do I get to Yosemite Park and climb El Capitan? So he lives in a van, so he can go and stay in these US national parks and wake up and just go, hey, let's go climbing. And people ask him, well, Alex, where does your money go? So he set up this foundation called the Alex Honnold Foundation, which is helping to provide solar power to parts of Africa. The guy is an absolute legend. He's very inspiring to me in many ways, as a humble person, as a compassionate person, as an athlete, as an absolute hero, just a very cool guy. And he's also very, very funny. You watch him in interviews, he's got a good dry sense of humour, so I think he's pretty cool, and he'd be pretty rad at a dinner party. Okay, guest number 4, it has to be my father. I miss him every day since he left this earth, and he was a very, very funny man who's very inspiring. He did some crazy stuff. He once rode across the English Channel to go and meet some girls in France, and they weren't there when he arrived. But he said it's okay because he met some other French girls. But whatever, he was an artist, he was a painter, he went to the Royal Academy of Art in London, he was a sailor, he built his own yacht to live on with my mother and my brother. And he was just a huge, inspiring guy. Again, he was very kind, very generous, and a very sweet and loving man. And I miss him very much, and I'd love him to be at the dinner table. He'd be full of hilarious stories and be laughing his head off and giggling around with everyone else, so he'd be great. And the last, hang on, how many have I done? And the last, okay, and my last guest number 5, is going to be John Lennon. I don't need to say John Lennon of the Beatles, we all know who John Lennon is, right? John Lennon, I remember being 15 years old and reading an 800-page biography on John Lennon. Hugely inspired by him and everything I read about him. I remember reading how when John Lennon was 15, he quit school when he wanted to go to art college and do his artwork and also play some music, and only his Aunt Mimi really supported him. My father, coincidentally, he also quit school when he was 15 and he wanted to go to art school. Most of his family were kind of against him, but his mum, my gran, was very supportive to my father, and as luck would have it, through to his talent and hard work, my father got accepted into the London Royal Academy of Art, and he had a successful career as an artist. So I think like he and John Lennon both dropping out of school around 15 and kind of fighting the establishment could have a little something in common, and a bit of dinner kind of banter to talk about. But yeah, John Lennon, everywhere I go, whether I was in New York City on these travels recently the last year, you walk around Central Park and there's people singing Beatles songs. Even here in India you hear people singing the Beatles, and just wherever you go, the Beatles follow you around. They're like this good kind of calm message of, well, peace and love without sounding like a cliche, but they are a very positive force in so many ways. John Lennon's words, whether sung or spoken, are a huge influence throughout the world, whether they're painted on a wall, sung in a bar, whatever. John Lennon is just a hero. So guys, that is my top 5 dream dinner guests. I could have put so many others in there. Liam Gallagher from Oasis, he would have been hilarious. Like I said before, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, there's a bunch of people that could have been in there. Gandhi, my brother, my friend Nick, so many other people who would be great at dinner parties, but that's my top 5. So who would your top 5 be? This is what I want to know. Guys, if you could invite any 5 people in the world, alive or dead, to your dinner party, who would it be? Let me know in the comments below and let's have some fun. And you know what? Also I was kind of thinking, if I'm having my dream dinner party, I'm going to need a maitre d'. Now, who could I have for a maitre d'? Well, I was kind of thinking Morgan Freeman, you know, because it just has to be Morgan. His voice, he could be like, hello, come in, or whatever, you know. But at the same time, like, I don't know, Jack Nicholson, there's so many people it could be. So I'm kind of thinking we're going to go Morgan Freeman for a maitre d', and if he's busy, Jack Nicholson. And a waitress, I don't know, like Scarlett Johansson, because she's a bit of a babe. So guys, that's it for this week's Whatever Wednesdays. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to see you hit the like button and the thumbs up if you liked this video. If you want to leave a comment, please tell me who would your top 5 dream dinner guests be for your dream dinner party. And if you want to see any more of these videos, then it would be really cool if you hit that subscribe button and come along for the ride. And then there you go, like, comment, subscribe. Bob's your uncle. Alright guys, until next week, yeah? See you later, alligator in the wild crocodile. See you later, alligator in the wild crocodile.